Welcome to week 10. This is chapter 14. There's only one chapter this week, and it's on business presentations. And this is important because week 11, you're actually going to be writing a report and then doing a business presentation on that report. So this is very important for your time in this school. And it's also important for whatever you go after school. A lot of you are in business, and business presentations and being in business kind of goes hand in hand. Some of you are criminal justice, and when you first get your job, as most things, you kind of have to work your way up. You never know, depending on where your career goes, when you might need this information. For others of you, you are wanting to start some nonprofits or some work with some of the community to try and help provide services. Business presentations are always important for that because if you're trying to get funding or raise money or going to get backing to create a foundation, you need to be able to make an effective business presentation. And for those of you going, well, I'm medical. So do you think maybe you were always, you're never going to advance in your career? Some of you may not want to. Some people don't. They're just, I have my niche. I'm a happy camper. Okay. But what if you're going to volunteer at your children's school, like they used to call PTA? I don't know what they call them now. My kids were little. If you're in charge of the PTA or working with the PTA, you might need to make a business presentation to help get donations to the PTA. Just because it has the word business in it does not mean you won't ever have to do a presentation. Plus, there's never knowledge that is un, unnecessary. You will always use it in some way, shape, form, or fashion, the knowledge you gain in school. So having said all that, I'll get off my little bandwagon. Let's look at writing a business presentation. All right, there are 6 objectives this time. The first one is recognizing various types of business presentations. There are 2 important first steps in preparing for any of these. Remember, you're doing a business presentation next week. Explain how to organize the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. Create effective visual aids and handouts. You don't need to do handouts, but you will do PowerPoint. Specify delivery techniques for use before, during, and after. Organize presentations for intercultural audiences in teams and as side decks. And list the techniques for improving telephone skills to project a positive image. And this is good because your discussion this week is on telephone skills. All right. So let me see if my arrow works. It does for now. Okay, so this is talking about Guy Kawasaki and the 10-20-30 rule of presenting. And presenting, speaking to an audience, often with accompanying graphic support, does not come naturally to most people. It is said that the one worst fear that anybody has is getting up and talking in front of a group of people. Okay, I think partly because you're being evaluated or you feel like you're being evaluated. Some people have told me they feel like they're being judged, which is why there's a lot of groups out there to help people get more comfortable with this. And I've done it quite a bit. I have a big mouth and I can usually talk in front of people. I've really only been intimidated once, and that was because I was expecting a small group of people. I worked for Purdue for a number of years, went around the state of Indiana, met with a bunch of people. Part of my job was delivering presentations about what we were doing. And I was expecting 10 or 15 because this was like my last site, and that's all that had been showing up. But I was in Lafayette, and all of a sudden I have a room full of people, 25 or 30, and mentally I hadn't wrapped myself around that. And a couple of mayors from surrounding communities showed up. One of our state senators who is in town, lives here in town, showed up. And I'd be okay, but I'm a klutz. And to get to the podium, I had to step up on the stand where it was just a small where the podium was. And oh, did I mention the local news station was there too? Um, and I thought, so I went up to the podium. I stood still for a split second and thought in my mind, lift your feet high enough up to get onto the podium without tripping and falling. Live at 6, look at the representative from Purdue fall flat on her face. Um, Fortunately, my thinking went, all right, I did not fall flat on my face. I was not a klutz at that time. I got up there, said what I had to say, and got off. Did not fall. Thank the man upstairs for watching over me. but it is scary. It is nerve-wracking. Um, but with experience, it does get a little bit easier. Also, preparation is necessary. So let's see what he says about the 10-20-30 rule of PowerPoint. Let me get my mouse here. He's a popular speaker, best-selling author. Um, he has employed his dynamic presentation skills at various organizations like Audi, Hewlett Packard, and startup companies. And he's put it down into a simple formula. He calls this method 10-20-30 rule of PowerPoint. No presentation should contain more than 10 slides. 10 is the optimal number of slides in a PowerPoint presentation because a normal human being cannot comprehend more than 10 concepts. Okay? Kawasaki advocates limiting the length of the presentation to 20 minutes. Speakers who drone on for longer will bore and alienate their audiences. That's also if you have too much information on the slide, you will talk faster than your audience will be able to read that slide, and you're ready to go on, and they're still back on like line 2. I've seen that happen time and again. His third rule refers to slide font size. He is adamant. Presenters use no less than 30-point font for 2 reasons. 1, a large font makes it impossible to include too much on a slide. And by limiting the words, the writer must focus on the core of the ideal. Second, a lot less text forces you to actually know your presentation. He considers a lack of preparation, especially as exemplified in reading the slides, among the worst presenting sins. If you start reading your material because you don't know it, the audience is going to figure out you're a bozo. All right. And I've seen people read their slides. It is boring. And after about the second slide, I want to leave. So let's look at this, preparing effective oral presentations. Let's see, Guy Kawasaki, motivational expert Anthony Robbins, and the late self-help guru Zig Ziglar, activist Martin Luther King, and the former Apple CEO Steve Jobs. We won't be introducing a spectacular new product or motivating millions. At some point, all business people have to inform others or sell an ideal. Now, that ideal may be you when you go to apply for a job. You need to prepare for your personal presentation when you apply for the job that you really, really want. All right. So it's the PowerPoint presentation, if you will, is live. It's how you look, it's how you sit, it's how you walk, it's how you carry yourself. Okay. It's the same type of thing. So let's go on to the next page. Speaking skills in your career. The number one predictor of success and upward mobility, according to an AT&T and Stanford University study, is how much you enjoy public speaking and how effective you are at it. All right, speaking skills are useful at every career stage. You may have to make a sales pitch before customers or speak to a professional gathering. If you're in the medical field and you're working in a doctor's office, remember your customer is your patients. Okay, they can go to another doctor if they don't like yours or if they don't like you. All right, I have a doctor that I just adore, and most of his staff I just adore. But there's a couple of people that if all of his staff was like that, I might have to think twice. So you might need to describe your company's expansion plans to your banker or small business administration. You might need to persuade management to support your proposed marketing strategy or whatever strategy you're trying to propose. So there's all different kinds of ways you might need to speak. When you're in the job market, remember that speaking skills rank high on recruiters' wish lists. In a survey of employers, spoken communication took the top spot as the most desirable soft skill in job candidates. It ranks above having a strong work ethic, teamwork, analytical skills, and initiative. Another employer study reported that 70% of executives, hang on, let me get this up here. Yeah, it's continuing. You've seen me do this all quarter. 70% of executives considered oral communication skills very important for high school graduates entering the job market, 82% for 2-year college grads, and a whopping 95% for 4-year college grads. So hopefully we can kind of get you down that road. Types of business presentations, there's called, some are face-to-face, others are virtual. So briefings, A briefing is a concise overview of a summary of an issue. Okay. Proposal or problem. Team briefings bring managers together with their team so that information can be delivered, questions asked, and feedback. Nurses may get together at the beginning of every shift to sort out duties. Military officers use briefings to outline missions. Marketing managers, okay, frequently to bring sales reps. Reports. Business people often present progress reports, status reports, convention reports, and other information accounts orally. Okay. In chapters 12 and 13, you learn to prepare such reports. Other organizations expect more elaborate presentations with visual, multimedia technology, and question and answer periods. Podcast is an online, pre-recorded audio clip delivered over the web. Chapter 7 described how to do it. Podcasts are now used by companies to launch products, and you might have to do that. I haven't met too many people that's actually done the podcast. Team members in this digital age are increasingly separated geographically and must meet virtually. The keys to a successful virtual presentation, all right, is similar to those of other presentations and webinars. Webinar is a web-based presentation, lecture, workshop, a seminar, and that's how I get a lot of my professional training, my professional meetings. Knowing your purpose. You must prepare carefully if you expect it to be effective. The most important part of your presentation, of your preparation, is deciding what you want to accomplish. Okay. Do you want to sell a healthcare program? Do you want to persuade management? Do you want to inform customer service reps? Okay. Whether it's to persuade or inform, you have to have a clear idea of what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, they won't either. And so here's an example that you can read. Knowing your audience, a second key element in preparation is analyzing your audience, anticipating its reactions, and adjusting it to its needs. Audiences fall into 4 categories, and we're going to talk about them in a minute. By trying to figure out who your audience is, you have a better idea of what to do. A friendly audience is going to respond to humor and personal experience. Be aware of humor. Be careful. Your humor is not everybody else's humor. Neutral audience requires an even, controlled delivery style. You want to fill the talk with facts, statistics, and expert opinion, so you can always ask somebody, who is my audience? If it's job related, your best bet is a secretary, or just doing some research anymore online and get a bio of the guy or person, anymore guy, woman, that you're going to be interviewing with, and see if you can find out something about them. Humor, be careful of humor in a job interview. An uninterested audience that's forced to attend requires a brief presentation, like employees are told they're going to go there. Such an audience might respond best to humor. Again, be careful of that. Cartoons, be careful of cartoons. Hostile audience demands a calm, controlled delivery style with objective data and expert opinion. Remember to plan your presentation so that it focuses on audience benefits. Other elements such as age, education, and size of the audience is going to affect what you do and how you do it. So, the way to ask yourself, how is this topic going to appeal? How can I relate? How can I earn the respect so that they accept my message? What would be most effective in making this point? Facts, statistics, personal experiences, it goes on. What measures must I take to ensure that this audience remembers my main points? One way of doing that is when you're in preparing your PowerPoint, there's a way that you can prepare your PowerPoint where you have just notes. You have the slide, and then on the left-hand side of the page is lines that you can put in to where people in your audience can make notes. So they have your slide and they have a place to make notes. That's really popular. All right, so you have 4 audience types. Let's look at this real quick. Friendly, they like you and your topic. Use any pattern, try something new, involve the audience. Be warm, pleasant, and open. Lots of eye contact and smiles. Personal examples and experiences. Neutral, they're calm, rational. Their minds are made up, but they think they're objective. Present both sides of the issue. Use pro and con or problem solution patterns. Be controlled, nothing showy. Use facts, statistics, expert opinion. uninterested, they have a short attention span, and they may be there against your will. Be brief, be dynamic and entertaining, and cartoons are colorful. Now avoid the blue. Avoid darkening the room, standing motionless, passing out handouts, using boring visuals, or expecting the audience to participate. Hostile. They want to take charge or ridicule you. They may be defensive or emotional. Organize a non-controversial pattern, such as chronological or geographical. Be calm and controlled. Speak evenly and slowly. Include objective data and expert opinion. Avoid question and answer if possible. All right. Learning objective 2 is organizing content for impact and audience rapport. So you got your purpose. You know who's going to be there. Yay. You're ready to collect the information and organize it. Good organization and intentional repetition are two of the most powerful keys. Many speech experts say following admittedly repetitious but effective. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. Which in this last part just means like a summary. So introduce it, tell them what you're going to say it, and then summarize it. In other words, repeat your main points in the introduction, body, and conclusion. Yes, it may be redundant, but it's necessary in oral presentations. Now, either way, no matter what kind of audience you have to capture their attention. So a lot of time, it's a pleasure to be here, or I'm honored to be asked to speak. Or today I'm going to talk about boring openings such as these get speakers off to dull. Avoid things such as capture by striving to accomplish the 3 goals. Capture listeners' attention and get them involved. Identify yourself and establish your credibility. This is important in having people pay attention to you, to establish why they should listen to you. So who are you and who do you to tell me what XYZ is? So one of the most important things is identify yourself and establish your credibility. And then preview your main points. To establish your credibility, you need to describe your position, your knowledge, okay, your experience, and whatever qualifies you to speak. The way you dress, your self-confidence, your direct eye contact also build credibility. Try to connect. A consultant addressing office workers might reminisce how she started as an administrative assistant. CEO might tell a funny story. Steve Jobs does that quite a bit. Not funny, but he tells stories about himself. Use humor if you can pull it off. After you get the audience's attention and have established your credibility that you know what you're talking about, you want to preview the main points of your topic with perhaps a visual aid. Okay. Organizing the body. The most effective oral presentations focus on just a few principal ideals. Therefore, the body of your presentation, 20 or fewer minutes, should limit the number of main points to 2 or 4. Develop each main point with adequate, not excessive explanation. Too many details can obscure the main message and you kind of get lost. Listeners have no pages to refer to, so they become confused easily, especially for your visual audiences, people like me. So we have an example coming up. Sandra Castillo began planning her presentation. She realized immediately she could talk for hours on her topic. She also knew listeners were not good at separating major and minor points. Therefore, instead of throwing out all this information, she sorted out just a few main things. In the banking industry, loan officers generally ask the following 3 questions of each applicant. Are you ready to hit the ground running and starting your business? Have you done your homework? And have you made realistic projections of potential sales, cash flow, and equity investment? Now, for those of you that are thinking about starting their business or starting a nonprofit, these are the same questions for you. All right. For those of you that are wanting to go to work for somebody else, are you ready to hit the ground running and starting off your new career? Have you done your homework for that career? Do you know what it entails? Do you know what you may have to do? Do you know your doctor's offices or your business that you may be going to work in? Have you made realistic projections of the potential sale of your career? what realistically, how much experience you have to get before you need to start thinking about maybe getting promoted. All right. She wanted to streamline this, so she encapsulated the questions in 3 words: experience, preparation, and projection. And we're going to look at that 14.2. So, how to organize and sequence them: chronology, presentation describing the history, organized from the first sign of trouble to the present; geography and space, a presentation about changing the diversity of the workforce; topic and function, conventional grouping; comparison and contrast, journalistic pattern, the 5 W's and H: who, what, when, where, why, and how; value, size, and importance. And there's more on the other page, but I want to go over this. Gaining and keeping your audience attention. A promise, begin with a realistic promise that keeps the audience waiting. Drama, by telling an emotionally moving story. Eye contact, movement, walk around. Questions, keep the listeners active and involved with rhetorical questions. Demonstrations, samples or props. Visuals, dress, enhance your credibility of your audience by dressing professionally. Current events or statistics, a quote, and self-interest, what's in it for me audience test. Now to finish that list we started a minute ago: problem solution, simple complex, best case, worst case scenario. And then we're down here for outlining an oral presentation. What makes a loan officer say yes? A, captures attention. B, involves an audience. So how many of you expect one day to start your own business? Nearly every entrepreneur needs cash. I'll promise you by the end of the talk, you have inside information on how to make the loan application work. Identifies a speaker. Previews these 3 main points. I have suggestions in 3 areas: experience, preparation, projection. Establishes the main points: body, experience; second, preparation; third, projection. Okay, summarizes them. Okay. 1, 2. Okay. Summarizing it in the conclusion. Summarize the main themes of the presentation. Leave the audience with specific and noteworthy takeaway information. Include a statement that allows you to leave the podium gracefully. A conclusion is akin to a punchline and must be memorable. So I guess that's about all I have to say. Thanks for your time. Oh. In bringing my presentation to a close, I will restate my major purpose. So now you've come full circle and you've come back up to the top and reminded them what this is all about. Improved. In summary, my major purpose has been to da 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 da. And even better, in conclusion. And a lot of speechwriters say this is good because it triggers the audience's attention to know that you're summing up. Let me review my 3 major points. Again, you're coming full circle. Building audience rapport. Good speakers are adept at building audience rapport, and they think about how they're going to do it. Means that speakers form a bond with the audience and they entertain as well informed. You don't do song and dance, but you're respectful. We learned that good ones use a number of verbal and nonverbal techniques to connect with the audience. They provide effective imagery, supplying verbal signposts, and use body language strategically. Imagery, you lose your audience quickly if you feel you talk with abstract generalities. Enliven your presentation and enhance comprehension by using some of the techniques in 14.3. Verbal signposts. Must remember that listeners, unlike readers of a report, cannot control the rate of presentation or read back through pages. Knowledgeable speakers help the audience recognize the organization and oral message with verbal signposts, such as previewing. The next segment of my talk presents 3 reasons. Summarizing, let me review. Thus far, we've talked solely about, transitions. First, second, next, then, therefore, moreover, on the other hand, contrary, and in conclusion. Nonverbal messages. Like it or not, you'll be judged by your appearance. For everything but small in-house presentations, you need to dress professionally. The rule of thumb is that you should dress at least as well as a best dressed person in your audience. Animate your body, be enthusiastic, let your body show it, emphasize ideals to enhance points. Variety of gestures. Speak extemporaneously. Do not read from notes, a manuscript, or your presentation slides. Speak freely, maintaining eye contact. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't turn around and look at the slides that hits just to make sure that's the slide that you think it is. All right? But you don't have to stand up there and read it. Glance at it, make sure you know that that's the slide you want. Refresh your memory with it in 30 seconds or less. Okay? Use your presentation slides to guide your talk and jog your memory. Use note cards or paper outline. All right? Punctuate your words. You'll keep your audience list interested by varying your tone and get out from behind the podium. Okay. Effective imagery, comparison of similar traits between dissimilar things. Simile, comparison like includes the words like or as. Metaphors, a comparison between dissimilar things. Personal anecdote, a personal story. Personalized statistics. Worst or best case scenario. And vary your facial expression. Beginning presenters should have an experienced speaker watch them and give them tips as they rehearse. A lot of times people tell you to rehearse in front of a mirror. Your instructor is an important coach who can provide you with feedback. So can a good friend. All right, so now we're through the first two objectives and the introduction. So I'm going to put this part of the video to an end, and we'll start off with objective 3, okay?